Charlie Kirk mentor and modern cheerleading creator Jeff Webb has been killed in a pickleball accident. Once again, this is one of the craziest headlines I've seen in recent times. Because not only was he Charlie Kirk's mentor and the creator of modern cheerleading, he died in a pickleball accident.
Almost exactly 6 months since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, he dies in a pickleball accident. And pickleball deaths are so rare in the United States that only 5 have been reported in the last couple of years.
Now let me ask, what are the odds that the same guy would go on to mentor Charlie Kirk from the time he turned 18 until the day he took the hit? It's almost like Trump and his pageants and Jeff and his multi-billion-dollar youth cheer network had something maybe a little trafficky in common. And my gut instinct when I first saw this is like, why is this adult man running a monopoly on a...
Charlie Kirk's world just took another hit, and this situation is leaving a lot of people uneasy. The man who quietly helped shape things behind the scenes is now gone, and the explanation being shared isn't sitting right with everyone watching this unfold. Jeff Webb, someone who wasn't just loosely connected but actually part of the early foundation, has passed away after what's being described as a freak pickleball accident. And even saying that out loud raises eyebrows, because it sounds unusual right from the start. Before getting into why people are questioning this, it's important to understand who Jeff really was in this story and why his name carries weight. Jeff Webb wasn't just a random businessman in the background. He was the founder of Varsity Spirit, the person who helped turn cheerleading into a huge, structured industry. But beyond that, he had strong ties in donor circles and leadership networks, the kind of spaces where influence and opportunity intersect in a major way. And that's exactly where Charlie Kirk enters the picture. Jeff met Charlie when he was still very young, long before the public recognition and media attention. Based on what's been shared, Jeff played a role in opening doors early on.
Jeff Webb. I'd like to invite you and your squad to participate in one of our camps this summer.
Helping him step into rooms filled with people who had serious resources, strong influence, and connections that most people that age would never come close to accessing. So when people say mentor, they're not exaggerating at all. This was someone who helped lay the foundation for what Charlie eventually became, guiding him early on and connecting him to spaces most people never reach. Then in September 2025, Charlie Kirk passed away during a college speaking event in Utah, and that alone sent shockwaves through his entire network. The reaction was immediate, and Jeff Webb didn't stay silent during that moment either. He spoke publicly about Charlie, highlighting his character, his influence, and even suggesting that Charlie's future could have gone far beyond what people had already seen. Those statements stood out, especially coming from someone who had known him from the very beginning. But here's where things start to feel unusual. Just months later, Jeff Webb is gone too, and not from something people would expect, not from an illness, but from a fall during a pickleball game. According to reports, Jeff was playing casually, nothing intense, nothing out of the ordinary, when he fell and hit his head. The injury turned out to be serious enough that he was placed on life support for about 2 weeks. After those 2 weeks, his family made the difficult decision to remove life support, and that's how this story comes to an end. But for many people watching this unfold, that explanation hasn't fully settled the questions that are now starting to build. Pickleball is widely known as a low-impact sport, especially popular with older adults because it's considered safe compared to more intense activities. And while accidents can happen anywhere, serious outcomes connected to it are extremely rare, almost unheard of in everyday conversation. We're talking about numbers so low that most people couldn't name a single case without looking it up. That's why this situation is catching so much attention right now. Now you have someone who wasn't just connected to a high-profile figure.
I was only 24 years old at the time and ran the business out of my apartment for the first several years. Had a lot of help from people in this town.
But directly tied to his early development, passing away in one of the most unexpected ways possible. And naturally, that's raising eyebrows everywhere. One person even reacted saying, "When I first read this, I thought it was a joke. Who even passes away from something like pickleball?" That reaction alone shows how unusual this sounds to the average person. And Jeff wasn't just a distant associate. He was someone who had access, who understood how things were built behind the scenes. And when someone with that level of insight suddenly passes, people start asking questions, even if there are no official answers being given. Some people looking into the situation have pointed to a few details that stand out to them, like the exact role he played in Charlie's early journey, the limited public information about the incident itself, and the timeline surrounding the life support decision. To them, those details feel worth discussing, even if nothing has been confirmed beyond the reported accident. To be clear, there is no verified evidence showing anything beyond what has already been officially stated. But that hasn't stopped speculation from spreading online, and people are continuing to ask the same questions over and over again. Some are wondering if Jeff Webb had knowledge of anything sensitive related to organizations or networks he was part of, while others push back and say this is simply a tragic coincidence being overanalyzed. At the same time, there are also conversations focusing on Jeff himself and the environment he was involved in. Some people have brought up past criticisms of his company, saying that spaces connected to youth activities like cheerleading, modeling, or pageants often come under heavy scrutiny when concerns are raised. And once Jeff Webb's name started trending again, people didn't stop at the accident. They began revisiting older reports and legal cases connected to Varsity Spirit, the company he built into a dominant force in that industry.
Charlie's earliest supporters and helped connect Charlie with all of his billionaire friends when Charlie was only 18 years old to start TPUSA. He knew Charlie well before he met his wife, Erika Kirk, and knew
There have been lawsuits filed in the past involving the organization, with claims raising concerns about whether certain environments were always as safe as they should have been, especially for younger participants. Those situations have been discussed before, but now they're being looked at again with fresh attention. Jeff wasn't just part of that system. He played a major role in shaping it, holding significant influence over how things operated across that space. Some online discussions have even mentioned his name appearing in broader document references, connected to Epstein-related records, though no conclusions or verified claims have been established from that alone. And then there's another side of the internet that believes none of this is random at all, suggesting something bigger could be behind it, while others strongly disagree and warn against jumping to conclusions without clear evidence. And that's where this situation really starts to split into two completely different directions, because depending on who you ask, you're either looking at a tragic accident or something that just doesn't sit right at all. On one side, there are people urging everyone to slow down and focus on what has actually been confirmed. The official explanation is clear. Jeff Webb suffered a serious head injury after a fall during a casual game, was placed on life support, and after 2 weeks, his family made a deeply difficult decision. Situations like that, while rare, can happen, even in environments that are generally considered safe. Medical experts have pointed out before that head injuries can be unpredictable. A single fall, depending on how someone lands, can lead to complications that escalate quickly. It doesn't need to be a high-speed accident or something dramatic for the outcome to become serious. And that's the part many people are holding on to, that sometimes events that seem unlikely still happen in real life.
It's been a week of high emotion, every emotion you can think of, anger, sadness, frustration. It's just been, one of those weeks. It's an incredible loss. I agree with others. I think we probably lost a future president last week.
But on the other side, there's a growing group of people who aren't convinced that the story is that simple. Not because they have proof of anything else, but because of how unusual the timing and circumstances feel when everything is placed side by side. First, you have Charlie Kirk's passing, which already shook a lot of people connected to him. Then, not long after, someone who played a role in his early rise is suddenly gone too, and in a way that most people struggle to wrap their heads around. That sequence alone has been enough to keep conversations going online. People are also pointing to the fact that Jeff wasn't just any figure in the background. He had years of experience operating inside powerful networks, building connections, and shaping systems that involved large groups of people. When someone with that kind of history is suddenly no longer here, it naturally leads to more attention than usual. And then there's the information gap, because while the basic outline of what happened has been shared, there aren't many publicly available details beyond that. No extensive breakdown of the incident, no widely reported witness accounts, just a general description of events. For some, that lack of detail creates space for questions to grow. At the same time, others push back on that thinking and say that not every situation needs to be publicly dissected. Families often choose privacy during moments like this, especially when it involves medical decisions and end-of-life care. Just because everything isn't shared doesn't automatically mean something is being hidden. Still, the online conversation hasn't slowed down. If anything, it's expanded beyond just the incident itself and into Jeff Webb's broader history and influence. People are revisiting everything.
This is wild. Charlie Kirk's mentor died this weekend from a pickleball accident. That's right. Jeff Webb, 76, fell during a casual game of pickleball, sustained a severe head injury too.
From his business ventures to the systems he helped build, trying to piece together a bigger picture. Some are focusing on the scale of varsity spirit and how dominant it became under his leadership. They're asking how one company was able to hold so much influence in a single space and what that meant for the people involved in that ecosystem. Those aren't new questions, but they're being asked again with renewed intensity. Others are looking at past legal cases and public criticisms, not as proof of anything directly connected to what happened, but as context. They're trying to understand the full scope of who Jeff Webb was, both professionally and personally, and how that might shape how people interpret current events. And then there's the layer of online speculation that keeps pushing things even further. Some discussions are based on fragments of information, others on assumptions, and some on connections that haven't been verified at all. It's a mix of curiosity, concern, and, in some cases, people simply trying to make sense of something that feels unexpected. But it's important to separate what's confirmed from what's being speculated. As of now, there is no verified evidence showing anything beyond the reported accident and medical outcome. Everything else exists in the space of discussion, interpretation, and opinion. That hasn't stopped the intensity of the conversation, though, because when events like this happen close together and involve people connected through influence and history, it creates a narrative that people can't ignore. Some are choosing to see it as a tragic chain of unrelated events. Others feel like there are too many unusual elements for it to be that simple. And right now, both perspectives are playing out at the same time across different platforms. What's clear is that Jeff Webb's passing didn't just close a chapter.
Possible that this was just some rare and crazy accident? Or did Jeff have some information that some people did not want getting out there?
It opened up a wave of questions that people are still trying to process, not necessarily because they have answers, but because the situation itself feels difficult to fully understand. And until more clarity is provided, if any ever is, this conversation isn't going anywhere. It's continuing to evolve, with more people looking back, re-examining details, and trying to figure out where everything fits. Because when something feels unexpected, especially involving individuals connected to influence, networks, and past controversies, people don't just move on. They look closer, they ask more, and they keep digging for anything that helps the story make sense. Still connected to that same circle, the online conversation hasn't slowed down at all. It's actually getting louder. One person wrote that this kind of sudden, unexpected loss could feel like a warning to others operating in those same networks, while someone else went in a completely different direction and claimed there's something bigger being overlooked when it comes to how rare incidents like this are reported. Now, whether you believe any of those theories or not, what's really keeping this story alive is the pattern people think they're seeing, especially since Charlie himself passed away not long after becoming more vocal about certain issues. That timing alone has people paying closer attention than they normally would. And that's exactly why many aren't fully accepting the freak accident label without question. To them, the explanation feels too simple for a situation that seems layered and complicated from the outside. At this point, people aren't just asking how Jeff Webb passed, they're asking what he knew, who he was connected to, and why his name keeps coming up in these broader conversations, every path tied to that. Same circle seems to lead to more questions instead of clear answers. And that's what's fueling this non-stop discussion. Because now, it's no longer just about one fall on a pickleball court. It's about the bigger picture.
Ways to stage something. I don't think a pickleball accident is the way you're gonna do it.
People are trying to piece together, looking at timelines, connections, and the roles different individuals played in the same space. And the deeper people look, the harder it becomes for them to feel like everything is fully understood, even if there's no confirmed evidence pointing beyond what's already been reported. That tension between what's known and what people think might be missing is exactly what keeps this story from fading away. At the same time, others are reminding everyone to stay grounded in facts, pointing out that speculation can easily go too far when there isn't solid proof. They argue that sometimes events that feel unlikely are still just that. Unlikely, but real. But regardless of which side people fall on, one thing is clear. This story has captured attention in a way that isn't going away anytime soon. The mix of timing, connections, and unanswered questions has created a situation people keep coming back to, trying to make sense of it from every angle. And now the conversation has reached a point where it's not just about what happened, but about what it all might mean moving forward. Because when stories like this keep unfolding with more questions than clarity, people don't just watch, they stay locked in, waiting to see what comes next. So what do you think about all of this? And drop your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share if you want more breakdowns like this. And I'll see you in the next one.